Hey, y'all, we're going to pick right up and go to number 12. I'm going to clear all this ugly space out so I have something to do with. Boop, here it goes. Now, we're going to be working on solving square root equations. We've worked on this the past 2 days in class. A lot of y'all are starting to get it. That's awesome. We have one more day to get this down. Here we go. Solve the following square root equations. So when you have two radicals in an equation and you want to get rid of them, you have to put one on one side and one on the other side. How do I do that? I'm going to move this 3 square root of x as one giant term to the other side. And when I, oops, doesn't look like that. And when it looks like that, here's the next line. I end up with square root of x plus 24 equals, because I moved that over, this cancels out, y'all. Move this over. And it looks like that. Now, remember equations. I'm going to do the opposite. Whenever I'm trying to get rid of something, I do the opposite. Square root, what is the opposite of square root, y'all? The opposite of square root is squaring. So I'm going to square this to get rid of it. But the rule is, if I square one side, I must square the other side. So you can see that I put that in there. You can see the squaring that's taking place. The x plus 24 just gets to remove itself from the radical house. And now, this is 3 times the square root of x. You have to take the square of 3 as well. So we get 9. And then since this is just an x by itself, we can just remove the square root, and you end up with 9x. Hooray for us. Now we're going to get our x's together. So I'm going to subtract my x on both sides. There we go. And I end up with 8x equals 24. And I'm going to divide the 8 out on both sides. And I end up with x equals 3. Now, we have to check if it's an extraneous solution or a real solution. How do we do that? We have to go back to the original equation. We have to go back to the original equation and plug in 3. So 3 plus 24 underneath the square root, you see that, minus 3 times the square root of 3. Does this plug in and do what it should do? Well, we got to use some rules of our, like some of our rules basically to break this down. 3 plus 24 is 27. Minus 3 square root of 3. You could probably use Desmos to literally type this in exactly, and if this comes out to 0, then you're right. However, I'm going to recall old information. We want to take the square root of 27, so I'm going to break it apart like I did before. Remember the square root of 9 times 3? And why am I breaking it apart like this? Because I'm going to pull out the radical, and you'll see this in a second, and then it'll make more sense. And we did this before already, y'all. We spent a couple of weeks doing this material. So I broke 27 into 9 times 3. Now I can take the square root of 9, which is 3, and I can pull it out of the house. And then check it out. If I have 3 minus the square root of 3, something minus itself is always going to reduce down to 0. So 0 equals 0. Is that a true statement? It is a true statement, yes, which means this is a solution. So that's how we get that done. All right, I'm going to solve the next one in another video.